Good morning, everyone. It's Wednesday, July 14th. You listen to THHoopers, Patty Mills' favorite basketball podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Lehman. With me, I'm joined with Josh Rhodes, who made his way back from missing the Frankie the Ace pod. Very conveniently, he missed that episode. How you doing, Josh?
We have a very, very silent and peaceful atmosphere at the moment.
You can be honest with me, with the listeners.
Yes.
It wasn't an accident.
Well, it kind of was. I set myself up for failure, but it wasn't 100% intentional.
You made plans that went long, but I know you. The only plans you ever have during pods are work. You never make plans on a pod night. I know you.
I didn't make those plans. Well, I guess I made them, but I mean, I agreed.
I'm also here with George. George Martin with a setup now. TV in the back. Still the Xbox mic. How you doing?
I'm good.
Still the echo. Did you furnish that? Did you furnish that house?
There's wood floors in this room. That's just how it's gonna be, honestly.
Oh, whoops. There's no light in this room, which is why I'm in the dark. But we're gonna upload this to YouTube because we need views.
It's funny.
Yeah, I'm in the dark. I'm gonna need like glasses by the end of this one, but it's fine.
Depending on when we record Thursday, this might be my last episode for about a week and a half.
You are going to Hawaii.
I was gonna say
Thursday.
Wait, why can't you record on vacation? We've done it all.
Man, I can't do it with the parentals right next to me. I'll see what I can do. It might be a sit in the car and talk. We'll figure something.
Thursday's episode will be live streamed from the Space Jam 2 premiere. We're taking a trip out there. We're gonna try and see if LeBron's hopping in Simi Valley because him and Danny Duncan are always caught around Simi Valley. So hopefully he's at the premiere. But enough chit chat. We got a good show for you guys. Frankie the Ace list this time. And again, I want to say thank you everyone for the support on that one. Me and George went through a lot to get Frankie on and having Frankie on. And all their usuals: Danny Stipp, Josh Nowakowski, Jake Guardhouse dropped a listen. George, get off of her Instagram for one podcast.
Oh my gosh,
she doesn't follow you back. She doesn't. We looked on Sunday. She doesn't.
That's always finds a way to upload something while we podcast.
2 points, just like me. You were in your own head.
I don't want to talk about it. Horrible stuff from Lehman.
But basketball that doesn't involve our rec league L's. Detailed preview of the Suns-Bucks game 4 on tonight. Some Team USA talk now that they are 1-2 in expedition games. Was going to be 0-3, but we don't have to slander them a lot. They won today. Sixers have finally made it public. They're taking calls for Ben Simmons, who are some ideal trade partners. And then what is the true definition of having a bag in the NBA? Because George has been getting very upset about it on his Twitter. But first, if you guys like what you see, make sure to follow us at THHoopers. It's Instagram and Twitter. Drop a comment, drop a follow on YouTube, subscribe, all that. If you guys want to, I don't know why I say it every time, but at THHoopers is our socials. All right, let's get it started with the Suns-Bucks game 4 preview. Josh, you didn't get to get your real thoughts on the game because we had Frankie here. He kind of filled in for you. He said the Bucks put the ball in the basket more than the Suns. That's why they won.
And I 110% agree. I feel like that's the best analysis that anybody could have put into this game.
The best.
The second best analysis was that Scott Foster was reffing, so it was obviously a wash. But just my main thoughts of the game is Holiday played significantly better. It's not that he outplayed Chris Paul because I feel like they had a pretty even game, but I feel like Holiday was a bit more active defensively, and he didn't chuck up a bajillion shots that didn't go in. He didn't miss easy shots, so it didn't feel like he was hurting them on one side and helping them on the other. Giannis, obviously a phenomenal game. I don't really think I need to emphasize that more than you guys did last time. A bit of a struggle, I would say, for the Phoenix Suns offensively. I know that they got a lot with Ayton rolling in the first half, but in the second half they seemed to be very not stagnant, because we've used that word too much to refer to our rec league offense, but they just seemed like they were just at the wrong position constantly, and it felt like a lot of miscommunication, and it was a lot of like trying to get guys warmed up, especially Devin Booker, and I think Campaign didn't play too hot.
Campaign 3 of 10.
Yeah, so both of those guys, they were trying to find their own shot, and they were just in a lot of miscommunication on Phoenix side, and Bucks took full advantage. They could not stop Giannis, and Phoenix is a offensively geared team, and they just kind of have to sometimes live with the fact that Giannis doesn't, or that they just have to keep the lead, and that's a big thing that we talked about in Game 2, as if like the game might be over if Phoenix gets a double-digit lead, just because they're so good at keeping it. They weren't able to capitalize. There wasn't like the big runs that we've seen in the first two games where they go on like a 16-4 run in like the middle of the game and then they just hold the lead. They just were unable to get any momentum going, and I think that's why the Bucks were able to do it.
I brought this up last pod. Besides Booker, this on paper looks like a great game for the Suns. CP3
Right.
4 turnovers. But are you on that train of thought too, or is the 3 for 14 from Booker just way too much to overcome? Because I'm looking at this, I'm like, Jay Crowder's not going to go 6 or 7 from 3 again. 8 for 11 is a great game for him. CP
I
over
hate
50%.
to bring up the I hate to bring up the plus minuses, but yeah, you say CP3 had a pretty decent game, but minus 13, Jay Crowder minus 11, obviously because they lost. But
they lost by 20.
Yeah,
no one had a positive on their team.
You are correct. Closest was Mikal Bridges, but Mikal Bridges didn't play great. I think a lot of their revolves around the time. I know that they got pulled pretty early. Do you know when they got pulled?
I know Booker didn't play the fourth at all.
Right.
He was running a campaign Chris Paul.
And here's the thing: he's their third leading minutes guy. Like the person that played the most was Chris Paul with 33, and I know that they didn't just sit them the whole fourth. So at some point, maybe there was a little bit of a rotation issue because, I mean, Frank Kaminsky played 13 minutes. I remember didn't he play like 30 seconds? And we talked about how we just can't keep him on the court like that. And we're praising Ayton for playing 40. And now he's out here playing 13 minutes. It's probably all garbage time. But yeah, I don't know. It doesn't sit with me. Monty Williams probably, I don't see, that's a difficult thing because I don't know if Monty Williams should make the decision of play the guys that are doing well, because he took Bridges out because he wasn't shooting and Cam Johnson came in. But then there's other points where it's like, well, you kind of need those guys to be active. So is sitting Devin Booker in the fourth quarter really a good idea? Because now he's sitting there already cold, and now he gets 12 minutes to sit and think about it. Do you think Devin Booker, the guy that hasn't shot well since game 1 of the Western Conference Finals, is going to take those 12 minutes in the fourth quarter of the finals to go, oh, shoot, maybe I need to, come back better? I don't know if he has that. So I don't know if Monty Williams benching Devin Booker is a good idea. I feel like he should have just let Devin Booker run around like Russell Westbrook.
I mean, yeah, I think at the end of the day, Monty was throwing stuff at the wall to see what sticks because they hadn't been have their back against the wall against the Bucks. So
right.
That second half of coaching was kind of a wash. They were down almost the whole time. We're glad to get your thoughts on Game 3. Now time for Game 4. I'll start with George here because we'll call Giannis by a cool name. So, but how many points will he score? He's averaging 36 on 62% shooting in this series, including back-to-back 40 nugget combos. So, I mean, is there another one, George? If he does another one,
that's history.
It's history, yeah. Michael has four in a row 40-point games.
I don't think he's going to get 40. It took him I think they kept him in a little bit longer than they should have last game for him to get 40. I think they wanted him to get those back-to-back. The game was already settled at that point, but he was at like 38, so they kept him in to get his 40. But I'm expecting another 30 ball, whether it's 32, 35. They don't have really anything to stop him. So yeah, I expect at least 30, and yeah, I'd be shocked if he scored under 30, as we've seen how he trends to play in this series.
So yeah, if his average is 36, that's the over-under. Is it over-under for you?
Over-under 36?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take under. I'm going to take under, but like 34. That's what I would take. I think he's just.
I'm going over, Josh. What do you think about Giannis scoring in Game 4 here at home?
Oh, it's gonna be bad. I don't think this is probably gonna be the game where they figure something out. He might go under, but like it's not gonna be terrible. It's gonna be like a 26-27, but it's gonna be horrific shooting.
I think
Like
he'll
26 on 25 or something.
Yeah, like
I think it'll be under, but that's because I have the Chris Middleton game in Game 4. So I think
That's right.
I think it'll be efficient for Giannis. We'll get into. Actually, that's a good say. We're going to get into it now. The Suns defending Giannis, like we mentioned before, only Ayton really has a chance of guarding him, and he's not as quick as he needs to be. Plus, Giannis gets into foul trouble way too easily, so they can't play
That
him
was
on
a
the whole
big
time
key last game.
because he's too valuable in the offensive end. You can't have him picking up those fouls on Giannis because you're gonna get foul calls if you're guarding Giannis. So Chris Paul says Suns need to find a way to build a wall on Giannis. I take it. That's a shot at the coaching staff because he's saying all these guys have figured out how to do it. Why can't we? He has back-to-back 40 pieces on us. I know why they can't figure it out. But Josh, what do you take about that statement that Chris Paul says?
So this is kind of going. I saw I was on TikTok, and unlike George's TikTok for you page, where it's just hot girls, I get a lot of interesting opinions or interesting takes on my For You page. And a guy said that George will definitely disagree with this for sure. But he says
he can't. He's on mute, so just say it.
He says that they're not saying that we, as in the audience, are not seeing anything different from Giannis that he's been doing in the normal season. I know George likes to talk about how he's polished his game a little bit in the post and he does other things, but it's just that there's a lot of teams that scheme really well against him. And we're seeing now in these playoffs, especially that a lot of the teams that the Bucks have played don't have the bodies to necessarily like build that defensive scheme that works well against Giannis. And it kind of discredits the, Giannis isn't a playoff choker take, because it's just that teams scheme really well and it's more of like a praise rather than a bash on. I know you disagree, George. You don't have to shake your head. It's common knowledge.
I'm shaking my head in the dark here too. I'll lob it up to George.
Right.
Don't worry, but finish your train of thought.
Yeah. So, and then it just says that people saying that he's getting better, but they're kind of disagreeing with it. They're just kind of saying, accumulating and correlating the fact that he's winning more awards and stuff like that and getting higher averages to him getting quote unquote better, when it's probably not the case. I didn't really know how to come across that, just simply because I didn't know how to argue against it. So maybe you guys have a better way of arguing against that point. Instead of naming quote unquote Giannis's bag, George, can you give me a viable argument to why that's not a true statement?
So you don't want me to explain all the moves?
I don't want you to do the shimmy, hoo-ha, up and under thing. I just want you to...
Hold up. That's not fair. He's hitting turnaround jumpers. That's why they can't build the wall.
And for one thing, he has been doing that in the regular season. He did that in that Nets game where he had, he almost had 50, right, Lehman? And in those few regular season games against the Nets,
right?
He had close to 50.
47.
Those Nets ones, though, he was hitting
If
threes,
you look
which
at the
is an
tape,
anomaly. So those don't count.
If you look at the tape from like this regular season to what happened with the bubble in Miami, it's totally different. If he had some of those moves, I mean, maybe they still lose to Miami because the role players around him weren't as great, but he's scoring a lot easier. He has definitely.
And I'm not trying to take away that argument. I just feel like it's already kind of common knowledge that Giannis is trying to do more offensively, and he's succeeding in doing so. But at the same time, I'm just trying to figure out, instead of just blatantly naming the moves and using that as a simple argument, because they do kind of have a point. You look at the teams that the Bucks have played in the past, and you can kind of tell that they're a bit more defensively built. Like the Heat last year, not the Heat this year. The 2019 Raptors had Kawhi Leonard, and they still had a really good defensive team on top of that. And then you look at this year, the teams that they played Miami, who hasn't been themselves the whole year. The Nets, who had Blake Griffin as the primary defender.
You're blaming him for who he's played.
No, I'm not blaming him. I'm just saying, is there a way around that argument?
This Suns team was the best defensive team in the West heading into the finals. We all said they have the way to build the wall. I don't want to hear that Mikal Bridges is too lanky to do it.
I was just going to get that. Was
they had Pascal Siakam. They had Duncan Robinson on the court when they were building this
I
wall.
wish you were here.
You don't
I wish you
need
were here last episode.
5 guys who are all defensive.
So I brought this up last episode. It would have been nice if you were here because I alluded to saying that the Suns can 100% build a wall.
Build the wall because they have Crowder, Bridges, and Ayton. That's a good 3.
And even Cam Johnson. Cam Johnson. They're not either choosing to or they know what might not work.
I took Cam Johnson out of the equation when Giannis shoved him 10 feet across.
Better than Duncan Robinson, I'll tell you that. So they have the scheme to do it. I don't even think they want to do it because they realize that he can beat a wall now.
Can we just give Bud credit that he's putting Giannis in better positions? They're running more pick and rolls, and Giannis is diving hard, and they're running Giannis in the low block. And George is more of the guy that's like, Giannis has a bag, but Giannis is hitting those turnaround jumpers, and when he gets too deep, they can't do anything because they're just going to foul him. And the main way he's getting these points is from the free throw line. I think the last 2 games, he shot over 50% from the free throw line when he's been shot more than 10 free throws. That's only happened like 5 times in the playoff his whole career. So he's hitting a lot of these free throws, which is very key.
Right. All right. Fair points. Yeah.
So I'll start with Josh here because there's been a lot of debate and talk about Giannis gets either too much hate or he gets the right amount of hate about not being able to shoot threes, make free throws when guys like Shaq were putting up the same numbers as Giannis, and he never attempted a shot from outside the paint. He never made his free throws, but everyone was fine with it. So where do you stand there?
Oh man, so I just think that's so dumb because it's such a different style of game because now we're talking about if you can't shoot the ball, like there's something wrong with you. Whereas the other one whereas in the 2000s, it was probably, I don't know what the motto was in the 2000s, but it sure wasn't if you can't shoot the ball, what's wrong with you? Shaq's game was a lot more praised. And I feel like that was the primary goal is to get the easiest bucket possible. That's why the Phoenix Suns are so emphasized in that era because they broke that code. And I don't know. Personally, I don't have an issue. If Giannis can score as easy as he is in this finals and in these playoffs for most of the series, then I don't have a problem with him not wanting to shoot 3 or not having to shoot the 3. Like there's other people, there's there are hundreds of other capable players that can shoot the 3 ball. Like it's not like, oh, Giannis has to become this all-around phenomenal talent in order to do so. He just has to do what he's been dominating at, and that's what they asked of Shaq. And I feel like that's how they're similar. But I think the comparison is unfair just because the eras are so completely, vastly different. But again, if they go out there and they do what they're asked to do, which is dominate the paint and play great defense, and both of them are doing it. One of them did that, and one of them's doing it right now. So I don't see the issue.
George, do you think it has anything to do with the fact that Giannis likes taking these threes and he goes 1 for 6 and 1 for 7? And they're saying, if you're going to shoot them, make them. If he was not shooting threes, if he was like Ben Simmons but was aggressive at the rim like he is, do you think it'd be as blown out of proportion as it is? Or do you think, hey, it's kind of fair he's getting criticized like this? Make your free throws, make your jumpers.
No, there's certain criticism that's warranted, especially we've talked about this. I've talked about this, especially when we watched games. He'll just have like so much confidence taking this 3 when the defense is giving it to him and knowing no matter what the result is, we live with that. We'll take that. But I don't feel like it's something that you can almost harp on him because he doesn't do it a whole heck of a lot. I know in some of those early playoff games he was going 1 for 8, 1 for 7. That's like you have to stop taking these. It's handicapping your offense in a sense, and he's gone away from that. Free throws are definitely a big concern as well, and it's fair criticism. Although we've seen, greats all the time, or just even some players, some starters in the league. I know he's obviously a 2-time MVP, but LeBron starting out early wasn't great from free throws. Still isn't the best, but obviously, he has a more solidified bag to score, so it's not as hurting his game. But the free throws, he's gotten a lot better these last few games. It's just all with the routine, honestly, and just how he releases it. So I don't feel like it will be a big – what's the word? I don't feel like it'll be a big reason
handicap?
To worry. Yeah, going forward.
He shot 2 threes in game 3, and he shot 5 threes in game 2. So he is toning it down a little bit, but still he shoots those. You kind of cringe because he can just get whatever he wants at the rim. or get another foul on Ayton. That would be so key. Josh, does he have a bag whatsoever? Like at all?
Giannis?
Giannis.
He has a little bag. I mean, like, we make fun of the fact, we just make fun of the no bag because it's a lot more fun to talk about the extremes rather than the talk about like the extremo rather than just like, oh, accept a little bit. But yeah, he's developing one. But the keen argument is, does he need one? And I don't think he does, just because he's so physically talented. That's like, if you don't need a bag, like, nobody's talking about Shaq. Like, my big thing with like the bag is, if you can score higher, if you can score over guys taller than you because of your moves, then that's kind of like where the bag develops. That's why it's so much easier to say like, oh, the guards have the bag, like the AIs, the Kyries, the Currys. Whereas like, you know, the only real guy that had like a bag was Hakeem, in my opinion, like where you can like certainly say that. Everybody else, it's like they didn't really need one. So it's like, what's the point?
The dunking Dutchman, Rick Smits, was pretty. He was pretty nice too.
Oh yeah,
he had
Kareem,
some nice up and
Kareem
unders.
Skyhook, obviously, and I mean, like, they have moves, and like Giannis definitely has his moments where like he can shake a defender off. I'm not denying that, but I'm just saying like he doesn't really necessarily need a bag. Like, he's just a dominant force inside. Pause. And I mean, it kind of goes hand in hand. That's why the Shaq comparisons are, because it's not like Shaq needed to do like all these fancy like finesse moves to get to the basket. It's just 1-2, use your body, score.
Yeah.
Easy.
Leading in, we talked about the main man. Now we have some supporting cast. Middleton and Holiday played solid game 2. Game 3. I thought Holiday played a great game in game 3. George, where do you see them playing in game 4? Because I mean, I have Middleton's having his famous Middleton game in this game. It's at home and it's a crucial game.
I might join in on you with this. I think it's time for him to hit his once a series 30 ball. I still think Drew's going to pitch in a decent amount, especially if we get more pick and rolls like we did last game. So like 20, I can see that of him. But definitely, I think this is time for Chris. I know that you said it's the Chris Middleton game, so I don't want to just jump on your agenda here, but I do think it might be time for an explosion from him.
Pause. But Middleton it's not a hot take by any means. Everyone's taking it like fact. Once a series, Middleton's going to give you 30 and he's going to win you the game. Josh, is like a Holiday game where he scores 20 and Chris Paul goes under 50%. Is that like key, like what you need from Holiday, or is that just extra?
That's what I said in game 2. Like, he was doing so much for them, and as long as he can take, because he can't do everything, but as long as he can take at least one of the guards out of the game, I've lowered my expectations for Drew Holiday. If Devin Booker can't shoot well, or if Chris Paul can't create for other players, and Holiday doesn't absolutely suck on offense, he's a positive for them. I mean, we were talking about how he could potentially wash Chris Paul at the beginning of the series, and now we have we have a few games under our belt. Now we've kind of realized where the players stand in terms of the rankings, and I think that as long as Holiday, because he's gonna be a pest. Like, every point that Chris Paul scores or every point that Devin Booker scores on Holiday is either non-existent or it's one of the toughest buckets that in the game. And as long as Holiday's not being a complete disaster on offense, he's a plus.
So yeah, let's lead in. He was playing tough defense, and a lot of people have been playing tough defense on Devin Booker. He's also just missing open shots, but don't get me started there. We're going to get started on Booker. Lot to unpack from the past 2 days or so. First of which Booker saying, that kind of Mamba mentality. I got a short memory. I'm going to wash it. Doesn't matter how I've been playing. I'm going to keep shooting. I'm going to keep scoring. And Chris Paul obviously co-signs it. He kind of has to, whether he agrees with it or not, because if your star point guard says stop shooting, you are not going to have any sort of confidence to even play basketball whatsoever. I would know. I lost a lot of confidence last Sunday with getting toyed around with on the perimeter by physical players. But yeah, so George sent this very fun tweet. Booker since game 1 versus the Clippers, which is when I started hating Devin Booker. He's averaging 23 points, 22.6, on 36, 29, 88 splits. Less than 4 assists per game. That's not good. Do you see this as a bounce back, Josh? And then just overall, we haven't been on the pod in about 5 days. What do you take about Booker, his game 3, and just how he's played since that 40-point triple-double with the Clippers? Because you know how I feel about him.
Right. I don't think. Well, I mean, as somebody that has kind of fortified that Chris Paul is the best player on the Suns, it's not like the super detrimental thing that the experience. Obviously, Devin Booker's high volume scorer we've talked about. It's disappointing that he can't do the one thing Phoenix asks of him, but man, I don't even.
And he's not doing anything else either.
No, that's the thing. He's not asked to. He's only asked to be a high volume shooter.
When he's missing shots, he's not going to dig it on defense, and he's not going to move the ball. He's going to keep shooting the 3 for 14.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, I don't really see this as a bounce back game. I think Devin Booker is probably, as long as he can just plateau at like an average, like around 40%, I'm not mad. Like, we've seen in game 1 and 2, they're capable of winning without. I mean, game 2 he played really well, but game 1 they won the game without him shooting phenomenal. He just didn't suck. In this game, he was bad. He was probably the worst player on the Suns this last game. So as long as he can kind of just, I like Devin Booker a lot as a microwave, and that's kind of how I saw him when he came into the league, where he
like
can
a 6-man.
He can get you like 10. Well, obviously he's exceeded those expectations, but yeah, like a 6-man, like what he was in college. He subbed in, he gave you a quick 8 to 10, and the momentum completely shifts. If Devin Booker can do that at the beginning of the game, that's so pivotal for Phoenix. But Phoenix definitely has to rely on Chris Paul more than Devin Booker.
I feel like that's kind of like his ceiling is like a 6-man. I feel like this has kind of been like
he's a starting shooting guard in the NBA Finals.
Should he be? I don't know.
What, you want the Harrison Bros to start ahead of him again, like it's Kentucky?
I mean, maybe.
They made it to the finals,
the stats,
George.
and I read you the stats. When you saw him getting double in an open gym, he's not meant for the moment. He's not meant for physical play, and he's not meant for anything other than shooting open shots.
Ever since Lehman saw the Kobe comparison, like the MJ thing, he's got a haywire on
Wakeham's house, and they were trying to tell me that the Kobe MJ passing the torch was the same as Booker writing "Be legendary" on his Kobe sneakers because he's super epic and quirky.
But a lot of it stems from that segment on ESPN. This guy almost blew a gasket, and then he dropped 2 points in the game.
Devin Booker should start idolizing Bradley Beal instead of Kobe Bryant.
I can't, but people were really telling me that Booker's better than Bradley Beal. But anyways, George, Booker in this series or just how he's playing in general, do you think he'll have a bounce-back game? I don't think he will. I think he should come off the bench, but do you think he'll have a bounce-back game here in game 4?
Oh, my gosh.
I think he will. I kind of am the optimist of this pod, and I just think a lot of guys will bounce back, and they prove me wrong. But with Book, it's encouraging that he knows that he needs to wash it out of his brain and, come back into this game thinking that it's a 0-0 series or, game 7 mentality. I like that. Obviously, I just feel like he needs to create easier shots for himself. A lot of the times he's forcing threes, not getting those dribble pull-up middies that he's that the Suns have really been successful with on their playoff run. So he just needs to get back to his spots, make it easier for him, and he should have a pretty efficient game. I'm going to say he's shooting over 50% in this game 4. So we'll see how that goes.
You want to bet?
Oh, you already have a bet you have to pay for, Lehman.
And he simply won't drive me to Canes. But Josh said it. He'd rather go 0 for 30 than 0 for 9. Dion, he's going to keep shooting. But like Josh said, they won a game where he didn't play well, but he wasn't a detriment on offense. He goes 3 for 14. They like lose. He's a negative for him. Do you think it's the right mindset to have if you're Devin Booker to keep shooting even though you're not going to hit these shots and instead of kicking it out to Mikal Bridges?
You don't know that. In game 2, he was smoking. He was hitting everything that he was getting, especially in that second half.
And he started off very slow and he kept shooting and he hit him when they mattered in the second half.
And you want to know why he hit them as well as he did in the second half? Got back to the mid-range game in his spots. He just needs to make it easier on himself.
But so you think keep shooting. They won't win if he goes like 1 for 7. They need him to.
I'm not saying
at
so
least
much
try
as to
get
keep
out of the
shooting. I'm saying to try and take his high percentage shots that he's made a name off of. I'm not saying for him to go out there and jack like 6 shots in the first 5 minutes. I'm saying for him to pick his spots better because that's where I think he's been struggling.
That's a stupid point because Devin Booker is not. His game has already de-escalated to the point where he doesn't know how to pinpoint. He's lost that idea, or not?
He's inefficient at picking his spots. You think?
Yes, no, he's lost that ability to run around and find where he's lost the Klay Thompson gene. He doesn't have it where he can just run around and shoot anymore. He's never had the opportunity to work with Chris Paul until this year. And all the emphasis with Chris Paul went to Ayton. It was like, Booker, do your thing, and we're going to fix Ayton. They fixed Ayton, but now Devin Booker is so used to playing this ISO-heavy scoring ball, inefficient ball, that now he's in a position where he has to go back to picking his spots, and he hasn't been able to do that good. I don't blame him because of the situation that he's in, but he doesn't have the Klay Thompson gene anymore. He can't just pick his spots. He has to have the ball and create.
I really like that,
Josh.
I like that a lot. He was very much a catch and shoot kind of guy when he first came out, and then he developed that off the dribble stuff. And
which is great.
But now it's just CP and Ayton pick and rolls, or CP drive and kick, or it's Booker. Here's it at the wing. Go have fun and get us a bucket. And it's very tough to do that, especially when you're guarded by all NBA defenders when you're playing the Milwaukee Bucks and you have Giannis waiting at the rim with another 7-footer next to him. So I like that a lot. I'll let you go first for the next segment. Final segment here.
Thanks.
And just give me one X factor. It can be from either team for this game 4.
It's Chris Paul. You said the Chris Paul game 3 got postponed because Scott Foster was on the referee lineup. This is the Chris Paul game right here. The game, everything I talked about Chris Paul having the Hardwood Classic, it's this game right here.
George.
Contrary to what Josh just said about Devin Booker, I'm still going to take Devin Booker as the X factor here.
Any reason why?
Well, him shooting under 50% certainly isn't helping his team, and I just feel like even if they lose, if he can somehow sustain some confidence and have a nice shooting efficiency game, I feel like it would bode well for their chances in the overall series. Because if they had an efficient Devin Booker this whole series, I mean, you're probably not seeing a Phoenix parade. I mean, the series might be over quicker. So, yeah,
I mean that. If you see an efficient Holiday and Middleton, it's probably going the other way. But
so I have a Mickey Mouse X factor. That's what you're telling me.
No, I'm just saying, little bounce this way, a little dribble this way. It's a 3-0 series either way. So you can't just be like, well, if Booker makes his shots, if I make my free throws, we're 1-0 in the Simi Valley record.
I just do think he is an X factor because of the Suns that have played in the series. He's been struggling the most. So a turnaround from him would be the biggest X factor for the Suns team.
I get that. I like it. Mine's Middleton. It has to be because I think he's going to have that 30 bomb. And if he doesn't have that 30 bomb, I don't know if they can get away with just the Giannis show unless their defense really holds up like it's been doing. And as much as I hate him, Booker's going to have a game where he figures it out. And I think it'll be in game 5 at home, but maybe it's here. I just need this win from the Milwaukee Bucks. This is all I need, and I get to see a Phoenix Suns parade. Or, I mean, how funny would it be if the Bucks just win? I don't get to see anything. But maybe if
then we go to Milwaukee.
Maybe they say they win Game 7 on the road and they celebrate in Phoenix. No, they wouldn't do that. Come on, Booker. Come on, Booker, please. I'm talking like night after. Do they ever do that? Because I know Cleveland went clubbing in Oakland.
Yeah, so but you wouldn't. Yeah.
I can't go clubbing. You're right. I can't
Milwaukee,
go clubbing.
Yeah, Yanni would not club in Phoenix. He's going back to Milwaukee. He's a home guy. He's loyal.
Yanni's literally just gonna go home to his wife and be like, "I did it." She's gonna hug him. They're gonna like go to bed at like midnight. Like it's there's the parade like a few days later. George, all right. Moving on here. Enough Bucks Suns. We'll talk about that next pod, obviously, with LeBron James in the Space Jam movie. We got a few stuff to talk about here. We're going to rattle through these because we did go kind of long on that one, and I want to keep this under an hour, even though Nowakowski likes them over an hour. So starting here, probably the most important news, kind of. Kawhi undergoes ACL surgery to repair a partial tear. I'll start with the Dr. George here. did you predict this? Because he kept telling the I'm sure he told the team he was out, but the media kept saying, "Oh, he's like day to day," because
Before
because
George gives his answer,
Oh.
I'm not gonna like it, but I was scrolling through Twitter before, and he quote tweeted the tweet where it was like, "Oh, I've talked to sources and confirmed Kawhi's fine." It's like that tweet that he did when he actually hurt the ACL, and George quote tweeted with the picture of the guy talking to the brick wall. One of your better ones, George. I like that one.
Thank you.
But yeah, George, it was definitely a ploy to, try and trick Utah and then ultimately Phoenix be like, Kawhi might be coming back, be careful. But he was never going to come back. So let's just thoughts on the ACL surgery.
So I thought it was an ACL sprain, initial diagnosis. I was off, obviously. I'm halfway through school, so not that far off. We got time. But the biggest thing here, the biggest cause for concern with these ACL surgeries, no matter if it's partial or a full rupture, it's the same surgery. You have to surgically repair it, reconstruct it. So that means it's like the same as fully blowing out your knee. And we have someone who actually went through this injury recently. Spencer Dinwiddie had the same partial tear. He never returned when he tore it, before the season. And he's been out, 7-8 months?
He tore it in like game 7. Because remember, we were like, who's going to win 6, man? LeVert or Dinwiddie? And then, he got hurt.
So I've seen around 9 months. That's typical. And the thing with Kawhi is he's stated before how he's really, conservative with his body. He's always stated this, post-basketball thing. He wants to be able to, not his body take a beating so badly that he can't, walk properly or play, sports with his kids and all that. So he's going to be very conservative with the timeline here. I don't know if we're going to get into this in terms of when do we see him coming back, but I'm going to spoil a little bit. I don't think he returns much at all. I don't think he returns at all next season, but we'll see. So if you have to take this anywhere, take it.
Well, I was just cheesing the whole time because you did sound like a doctor there. You were like, oh, yeah, it's this and that. I thought it was this. I was cheesing. I'm glad we got a doctor. But, Josh, I'll give you the fun question. Yeah. What impact does this have on his free agency? He has a player option, and he opted for surgery. I did not know that it would be I did not know this was Dinwiddie one. I did not know this was 9-month recovery as far as that. So did you have something to say, George, before I go to Josh?
I was about to sneeze, actually, but I didn't.
Okay. So it's not a 9-month recovery. Or is it?
Well, Dinwiddie has been right around 9 months with the same injury, so.
Okay, got it. I think it's kind of smart because Kawhi's kind of had knee suffrage since Toronto. It might just be like it's partially torn, it could repair, but we might as well just fix everything up. As for I think for the Clippers, they're going to try their very hardest to try and decline that player option, because Kawhi could easily just do what he did in San Antonio, miss that whole last year of his contract, and then he's gone.
Cash that check and then.
Yeah, exactly. But for Kawhi, I mean, unless you can think of a scenario off the top of your head, I mean, why not just try or just accept the player option and then try to come back as quick as possible? Because, I mean, the Clippers kind of did an interesting thing, and they won without him instead of just completely get lost. So now there might be an issue who's the real number one? Is it Paul George? Is it Kawhi? I don't know. And unless you're Kawhi and can think of a situation where you are in a better situation than you are with the Clippers, you have a good coach, or I shouldn't say good, a coach who knows how to handle player egos. Paul George, who is seemingly getting over his worst nightmares, crucial playoff games, and they're going to try to keep as many of the players that were efficient for them in the playoffs as they can. I mean, why not? That's a pretty good situation.
Could we see a version of the KD to the Nets where he declines that player option for max money and then signs where he actually wants to be?
Absolutely. There's so many teams that will throw Kawhi Leonard
But is there a place Kawhi wants to be where he wants to be there and get a head start? Because I don't see, my 2 cents, I don't see him leaving now because he has to recover. Might as well do it in San Diego where he wants to live, where his family is. He's there strictly because he wants to live there. I mean, so I don't see why he leaves the Clippers now, knowing that he might be out for a while. But do you see any sort of lineage there between KD missing that whole year and just collecting the money with the Nets instead of with the Warriors? George?
Oh, this is phrase for me. No, I don't see that. If he really wanted to, be in a place where he could win, he would have stayed in Toronto, in my opinion. He left a lot out of there to come home. And he basically, he controls what they do with the Paul George thing and all that. But I think the Clippers have no choice but to give him a bag. So I think he opts out regardless because they don't have their next 6 picks. Oklahoma has their pick this year. They need to keep him so desperately. So they will give him top dollar, the max they can do under CBA. And I just don't think he's really going to go anywhere else. I mean, the only place I could see him leaving to is Miami. And even then, I don't know. I think he's so much more comfortable here.
Now you got to rehab, and they're like, you're still doing conditioning drills, with your arms.
He's been given, almost like the keys to the franchise. He's been able to do what he's wanted to do. I think he's comfortable here. He's won 2 Finals MVPs. I think he's comfortable with what he's done. He gets to stay at home. He gets to make the max amount of money he's allowed to get. And I don't think this is much of a story past June or July 1st or whenever free agency is. Sorry, we're past July 1st.
Well, like Josh said, I don't know if he got to finish his train of thought, but the Clippers are going to beg him to decline it so they can sign him to a long-term deal to get that stress out of the way.
I think it's 4 years that they'll be able to do?
It can be 4 years, yeah. And they re-signed Paul George last year.
Already, yeah.
So they really need Kawhi to do that. Josh, final thoughts on Kawhi, and you think he's going to miss all of next year? Because George was kind of alluding to that. He's a cautious guy.
I think it depends on how good the Clippers are. So
yeah.
I think if he, no matter where he goes, if it's not the Clippers, he's going to try to. Actually, you know what? I think with any team, it just depends on how their record is. It's going to be a month-to-month assessment because it's Kawhi. Kawhi's entering the 30s, I believe, this upcoming year. I think
he's already in his 30s.
Yeah,
he's very early 30s.
Yeah, he's entering that we have to be a little bit cautious. And I mean, we've seen how successful KD was by taking a year off. So maybe he goes that route. I think it's just a month-to-month because obviously Kawhi is going to. Actually, I don't even know because Kawhi's a weird dude. The Clippers might be the second.
So what's your answer?
He's like, I'm not going to play.
He said his answer is record-wise, and I kind of agree there. But yeah I gotta treat you like George. I can't really cop out. Is he coming back next year or not?
I'm gonna say yes.
I'm gonna say yes. No.
I'm gonna say yes, but I don't think he's gonna finish the season. I think he comes back, but I don't think he finishes the season.
You think he gets re-injured?
Not re-injured, but he just doesn't feel right.
He's like, it's not right.
Oh,
yeah,
like LeBron.
Even though it's completely right, I just don't think
he's gonna activate playoff mode and then be like, oh wait, I'm sitting.
Maybe he plays like he plays like an average February, and we talk about the team with Kawhi is like the X factor.
February? What you think? You think he's made out of titanium? February?
What do you mean?
He was doing those Terminator commercials. I don't know.
Like February.
What, July, August, September, October, November, December?
I would say
that's 7 months.
If you were 7 months,
Dinwiddie's been 9, and they were in the playoffs, and they really could.
Dinwiddie was
March.
Dinwiddie's also weird as hell, like really weird. Dinwiddie
is. Yeah, I'm going regardless. He's not playing next season.
Wow. Well, I'm glad we talked about this because I was like, oh, he'll be ready for next season. And George was like, this is serious. I'm like, sheesh.
George put his stethoscope on and activated.
Speaking of very serious matters, the pride of the states are in jeopardy right now.
They're being mocked.
This is the one time where everyone's like, go USA. Every time else, everyone's got a different opinion.
Yeah, so many people are posting those stupid things like me watching 6'10" demigods destroy third world countries. And it's that stupid sound. I can't remember what movie it's from.
It's like get up! It's the 4th of July.
Hey, get up! It's Memorial Day weekend.
Memorial Day weekend. Yeah, sorry.
Salute the flag. It's so funny.
But yeah, so Team USA, they start 0-2. Me and George touched on it briefly when they were 0-1. Then they go back to back. They win one, lose one. They're now 1-2 in expeditions. They were, I think, 54-2 the past 40 years?
No, they had never lost until these 2 games, actually. Right?
Oh my, no. I think they lost 2 total in the last like 4 years.
Lights. Ooh.
It's spooky for George there. It's been spooky this whole time for me. But George, you said you weren't worried at all, and I think I was too because I didn't even watch the game, but I watched these 2 games, and oh wow. Okay, so I'll get a fresh take. Josh, 1 to 10, how worried are you? This isn't to say even if you're a 10, 10 is the most worried. Doesn't mean to say USA is not going to win it, but like we're expecting them to roll over these guys. It's the Olympics. USA always wins.
I'm gonna say 3. Just because it's not that it's not like they're losing close games, and it doesn't seem like they're mentally not realizing how much better they are than the other team. They're like relying, and like we're gonna talk about like the Jared Dudley thing, but like they're relying on the rule book just a little bit, and that's how they lose some of these close games. It's exhibition, so it's obviously I'm not worried about it. They're still probably gonna win gold, but like,
well, they're not resting anyone. They're still like trying to win.
Well, they might be resting Jason Tatum, but no,
I don't know what's going on with that.
I think they're relying a bit too much on. I think they're just relying a bit too much on like factors that they can't always swing their way, even though they have Kevin Durant on their team and Damian Lillard.
I thought he was the best player in the world.
Who's right
better,
now,
George? Who's better?
Their Mickey is so much better.
The guy that's about to win 3 straight and win the finals in 6.
I thought you were going to reference the guy that's playing for the Twin Squad this summer, but no, you went with your Greek brethren. And
Michael B. Jordan.
He can't even play on Team USA, George. So what's the point? What's the point?
I said in the world, anyways.
All right.
But my turn. I just think it takes time for them. I said this last time. I said it's going to take time for them to learn to play with each other.
How much time? How much time?
A few weeks. I mean, you look at teams like Australia, Argentina.
A few weeks, George. What are you talking about?
I mean, you look at these teams like Argentina and Australia. They've been playing together for years, but they do have a little bit of a problem. They have a lot of ISO-centric guys. They don't have many playmakers outside of like Draymond. Draymond's probably their best playmaker, so that's a little bit of a concern. Their center rotation is short. KD's their tallest player.
What center rotation? They don't have any centers.
Exactly. So that's. I don't want to say the roster construction is like uneasy because they have the best collection of talent in the world, but there's not a lot of parts in like an offense that I can see outside of like ISO guys and then just a few defensive talented guys. So it's a little bit of a concern, but I think the talent will show itself in the coming weeks, and I don't think we'll have to be worried come medal time.
Yeah, Josh, let's talk roster construction because. Like, sometimes you have to bite the bullet, and instead of a Jeremy Grant who averages 22, just get a Dwight Howard who can rim protect and like be a big body,
like the Tyson Chandler,
Chandlers, the DeAndre Jordans, the Mason Plumlees, like
the Draymond Green.
Well, he's great at defense, and he's their best playmaker.
Where's Miles Turner when you need him?
Look, I like that. I know what you're saying. But like they're so like I don't think anybody's really processing this information. I think Brian Scalabrine said it best. Brian Scalabrine was like, I can score 40 on whoever I want in an open gym that's of normal people. They make me look. They made Brian Scalabrine a 44 overall in 2K11. These guys are so good. Like uncontrollably good. They don't need a Tyson Chandler or the roster. Like Draymond Green and Bam can stop.
What are you talking about?
95%
Their second game they lost, their opponent lived at the rim. There was no rim protection at all.
That was kind of rough.
And I don't want to hear about continuity because we talked about when they played Nigeria, half those guys grew up in the US. They weren't playing with them, and half of them were playing for Miami. They're not playing over there anyway. So they got there the same time KD and Dame got there. And they have more opportunity to play together like the All-Star game than these guys in Nigeria do that are coming over.
It was Australia. Australia
the second game?
Yeah. Yeah,
Australia was living.
To be fair, if they watch them play Australia again, they're losing. Australia's losing by 40.
I don't think so because it's not like Team USA wasn't motivated.
They
lose to Nigeria.
Joe Ingles is a horrible man. And so
they lose to Nigeria. And you're telling me USA treated it just like another expedition? You telling me they were like, we can lose 2 in a row? Who cares? No, they came out fired up. Still lost to Patty Mills.
Patty Mills was hunting KD. That was so embarrassing.
That was pretty bad. I don't know. I kind of disagree with you there because I just think that the talent is just like, I mean, like obviously they can.
You just keep saying USA good, Argentina bad and white. They lost. Like,
when did I say white? What?
You use Brian
Australia? Yeah, that was just an example. I was just trying to emphasize how good the players in the NBA are.
These guys aren't scrubs.
So, I mean, like
these aren't normal guys. They're also professionals.
Yeah, no, they're professionals. It's not like I'm taking away from them. I'm just saying that the USA, the team that they normally build, is just constantly like. Are you telling me there's a team that's not the USA that's more talented than USA?
I'm not saying they're more talented.
Where's that talent quote? Talent fails to beat hard work or something.
Hard work beats talent.
Hard work
talent
beats
fails
talent.
to work
Talent
hard.
hard.
Thank you, Thunderstruck. But here, that leads me to my next point. It's not the talent, because obviously USA has the most talent. No team has a KD, no team has a Dame, but they don't know how to play together. These guys like KD and Dame, they don't know how to move off ball and set off ball screens when it really matters.
Only one basketball.
I don't think that they should have had Kevin Love on the roster. Is that
I don't know what he's there for.
They needed diversity.
Oh, now, of course you.
I think they could have done like a
guy.
dream team and got Chet Holmgren to play center better than Kevin
I'll say
Love.
this. I want to lobby something up because I saw something on Twitter. They need, instead of getting these end of roster fillers like a Jeremy Grant, like you mentioned, and a Kevin Love for God knows what, and like Levine's and other guys. How about some like high leverage role players who like exceed their role, defend, scrappy, because there's just way too many guys.
Wants to see that.
Don't say you lobbed it up when I asked Josh about it 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, he did say like they should sacrifice the talented guys.
I agree with that then, because there's just too many guys who want to get theirs.
Stay off your phone and Ella Mama J's Instagram, please. Pay attention. I'm gonna finally name drop it. I'm tired of you disrespecting us on the phone. Pay attention to what we're saying.
Turn on his camera. He's turning on his camera.
We're going to move on because I think we're on the same page here. I still have to say winning the gold, but there's a lot of problems here that need to be fixed. It's not going to be a steamroll. And that Australia game was a real game. I could see them losing again. Nigeria.
Man, I can't wait till they play them again.
Okay. Sticking on Team USA, but we mentioned Jared Dudley had some thoughts on it. Thank God Jared Dudley is giving us 2 cents in the NBA offseason. But he said the NBA should go to FIBA rules. It's going to be a quick one, just kind of a yes or no type of thing, and then explain why. Some different things from FIBA rules to NBA rules. No offensive goaltending, 10-minute quarters. And then the foul baiting, it's the main thing, and you guys touched on this when you were talking about the games. Foul baiting is much tougher to do. It's much more physical. Those swing throughs just aren't working, and which is weird because Luka has been doing this since his rookie year, and he won like MVP in the EuroLeague. But it's not working for KD and Dame. They're not getting those calls they normally do. So I'll start with George. You agree with Duds?
I'm gonna give you the typical me answer. I agree with him to an extent. I don't want to see goaltending be removed because then Rudy Gobert will actually become one of the greatest defenders ever.
There's no offensive goaltending. You can't just pop your hand through the hoop and
okay. Well then, I'll change my answer. I mean, I would like to see, especially with those fouls. I gotta get them out of here. Just especially in the game they lost to Australia. Too many times they came down the floor and were just immediately looking for fouls and just stopped their offense to just get a foul. And Kevin Love was on the perimeter. Tried to do a dribble move, just did a pump fake and tried to lean into him. It's like that's not a good source of offense, especially how FIBA plays. I know that it's a different play style and all, but that's not a successful drive down. So even just like changing, how the referees, referee, it might be better than changing every rule, but I don't mind it at all.
Josh.
No, because I don't like the goaltending one specifically, just because I've seen how they can just exploit it, and I think in the league where height kind of is one of the dominating factors in the league, this just gives them even more of an advantage, especially with the with some of the new prospects coming in. But I think the NBA just needs to change their foul baiting thing because, we've seen the NBA where it's a lot harder to draw a foul than it is now. So I think minor tweaks. They don't need to do a full FIBA change.
I like the offensive goaltending a lot, actually. I think there's no need. If it's an offensive player, who cares if it's over the cylinder? It's a put-back dunk. Just let it be. I'm not a fan of the 10-minute quarters. I don't know if I said this on the pod ever, but I'm not a big fan of changing anything about how much time is in the game, different things about that, because it's just going to mess with records. You get a 10-minute quarters, no one's breaking any point record ever. It's just not going to happen. And then I didn't put this in the pod, but a few weeks ago, NBA dropped some stuff. They're going to be changing a few of the rules to stop foul baiting. Guys like Trae Young and Luka and stuff like that. They have some rules that they're going to crack down on, like they cracked down on the swing through a few years ago. But we'll see how it goes with that. I think Jared Dudley. I don't know who keeps putting a microphone in Jared Dudley's face, but he keeps coming up with quotes, and he's always in the news. Last segment here. George, you can't say
somebody in a rush. Somebody in a rush there, George.
You can't say.
I want to see you suffer with the Chicago Bulls rebuild.
I'm not suffering with the Chicago Bulls tonight.
Anyways,
only suffering I'm gonna be doing is from success. Continue.
Last segment here. Sixers finally have made it official. It's not a secret anymore. It's not just rumors. They're taking calls for Ben Simmons. We've already talked on a lot of Ben Simmons talk. I've brought you guys some Bleacher Report articles, some mock trades. I just wanted, who are some of the best trade partners for Daryl Morey? I'll get us started. The Warriors are in the news already, and it's with Joe Lacob, Daryl Morey, two guys like to pull the trigger quickly on deals like this. I think it's match made in heaven, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they don't have the assets there. Josh, where's the best fit for Ben Simmons, and where should Daryl Morey likely do business?
I definitely agree with you in terms of the West team, but I'm gonna go with Portland. I think that there's definitely potential for Ben Simmons to get traded without Damian Lillard being in the package. And if obviously it would it would hurt Daryl Morey, but you wouldn't have to worry about Simmons. And there's also no guaranteed Ben Simmons completely changes his game. And I think that Portland is probably one of the few teams that can kind of, what's it called?
Utilize and fix Ben Simmons?
No, not. I totally lost train of thought because I was starting to think of the other team I was going to mention, which was the Spurs, who could utilize it. And as a basketball fan, I would want Ben Simmons to go to San Antonio. But Portland's one of those teams where you can, where Philly could kind of get a lot out of and then kind of flip flop because they can probably get players and then kind of build their team based according to their needs, but they don't really have to necessarily worry about that in the initial trade because Portland has some nice pieces. They just haven't been able to get it to work. But yeah, I definitely think that, Portland has a decent amount of package and I don't think they're asking for a whole lot. Or I don't think Philly's going to be asking for a whole lot. So
George.
I have one, and then I have a sleeper one I kind of want to address to y'all.
Oh, so
the first one, Minnesota. They need some defensive help there and playmaking help alongside Cat.
But they ruin the chemistry.
It's time for winning. It's time for winning around there. They don't need no chemistry anymore.
Is D'Lo confirmed to be? Yeah, he's probably in the package there. They got Malik Beasley.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of assets that would help the Sixers, replenish scoring that they were missing out of D'Lo. Out of Simmons. I think they have enough defensive pieces there that they wouldn't lose a whole ton of defensive versatility. And then, as long as we're done with that, I want to get to the sleeper one. How do you guys feel about the Thunder? Because he could play the 5. They shipped out Moses Brown, and there's a ton of picks that Moore is licking his chops on. So I want to hear y'all's opinion on that.
I think I don't see which is why the Warriors stocks are heating up. I don't see what's in it for the Sixers. You need to get a guard back, or at least someone who runs the offense back. Unless you have something big planned in free agency, the Spurs work. But unless they're not going to want to take on Kemba Walker's contract. And
I forgot Kemba was there. Oops.
And I know the picks are there. What do the picks do for you? You have Joel Embiid, who knows how long he has because of his brittle legs. and you have all these guys under
True.
contract for max money. So you need to get talent back, not just picks back. But I do like where your head's at as far as the assets are there. And I'm just like you. I'm begging Presti to do something with those picks. You can't just hoard them all. You got to start.
Time's running out.
Whenever a star's available, they can get whoever they want. Whoever.
They just got 5 first-round picks.
Y'all need to relax. Like,
what do you
mean? Like, guy got the picks. The guys accumulated the picks in this last year, and while he's made some questionable trades, he hasn't drafted anybody yet. And y'all are screaming from the rooftops.
He needs to trade everybody.
All the picks.
Josh,
he's gonna have to trade a lot of them.
Can you draft
Jaylen Brown,
35
Jason
players?
Tatum.
Can you
Marcus
draft?
That's not the point. That's not the
players?
point. That's not the point.
They have more first-round players than roster spots, Josh. They have to trade some of them.
Well, yeah, he'll obviously trade them, but they haven't drafted anybody yet.
So you just said we can't say that. You just said we can't say yes to trade them, but you just said you have to trade some.
You don't think when a disgruntled star says, I want out, that Sam Presti would rather move 5 picks off immediately to try and contend now than say, oh, we haven't drafted anybody. We don't want to grab this generation.
Who is saying they're disgruntled?
I'm just saying, what if a Karl Anthony Towns in 2 months is like...
You're saying if he doesn't capitalize on that situation when it happens.
You're saying what if with draft selections?
Right now, you're like acting like he has to trade them in like a month or he's washed GM.
I'm saying within like the next year.
Also, Josh, he made a very questionable trade shipping out Moses Brown, who's one of their only young guys worth keeping, and they still ship him for a pick that's useless. They don't need that first round pick. They don't.
What if it comes out really good though?
In 15 years, we won't even be doing a podcast anymore.
Hey, isn't it next year that they got the pick for?
I don't know. I didn't look into it.
I don't know, but I mean, I don't know why this is a debate. You have to trade some of them. They have more picks than roster spots.
I think he needs to trade them for the right package. I don't think he needs to just trade them just to trade them. I know that's what you guys. I know that's what you guys are trying to say. You guys make it sound like he needs to trade them right away.
But I'm done. I'm done going in circles. What was it?
That's it.
That's
it.
I'm gonna call it.
Shame on you, Rodicky. I'm gonna call it because I had so many things we could have talked about, and we're only an hour in. We have 3 more hours worth of content, but I guess I'm gonna call it here. Thanks so much for joining us. It was a Frankie the Ace less episode, but I hope you still enjoyed it. We got Josh Rhodes back. Next episode, hopefully, we'll have Josh as well, but might just be me and George at 3 a.m. post Space Jam. Who knows? But yeah, at THHoopers, Instagram and Twitter. This will be uploaded on Instagram, on YouTube. So subscribe, please. And yeah, everyone enjoy game 4. That's on today. Thanks for being an OG. Everyone take